Hey now. Hey guys, Manfree here. I just wanted to do a recap since our last video. So on this first slide is just 2025 finalized. The two big things here were that they released a couple of additional videos just on armor sets, and then there was the delay of the early access. So that was announced. I'll include some of the information below in the description. You can read their comment about that. And then there's also the link to their YouTube channel so you can see the videos that we talk about throughout this video. That was basically it for 2025. I know I released that video pretty late in the year, so I don't think any really big changes there. Moving on to 2026. So big things here were that they released a number of new videos, and Eben also had a stream where he talked about some of the development and artwork that they're doing. I'll cover that in quickly and in the next couple of slides. And then MJ also had a stream where he announced early access. They said that that is only going to be for the current backers. So if you don't have access to that right now, the store is not currently open. They said that would be happening very soon. So whatever that means, so you'll have to wait if you don't have access to that. If you do, you can jump in, and I'll include some steps to do that as well. So they're only doing it on the weekends. MJ said there were a couple of reasons for that. He said it's not very complicated. They just have some specific metrics that they want to meet, and they think that it would be the best way to concentrate the player base. So makes sense there. Some people might not like that, but I think he's being honest there. They said they're interested in the backers' feedback. They are not necessarily interested in getting a bunch of people in right now that just want to play a new game and want to consume the content that they have, but they're interested in people that have been invested in the project for a while. So maybe those people can have an impact on how it's developed. I've already seen that firsthand. I mean, I think they've incorporated some of the feedback actually into the game as they're doing it. So that's a good thing. There was an emotional section where MJ talked about their development. He talked about a kind of shadow developer, which he called Shane in reference to a Western character. And, he just talked about some of the struggles they've gone through trying to do the development, multiple apologies and things like that. So you can watch that if you're interested. And then also there was a roadmap that he announced and shared in Discord. So we'll cover that as well. So this is basically where we're at right now. I think the big thing here is we're not really sure when a public beta is going to be released. And we also just don't know when the store is going to be released. When are people going to be able to get in that are not currently accessible? And then, are they going to charge and all that kind of stuff we've talked about previously? We also don't know, when is the actual release plan, what would be normally considered maybe the Steam early access or, just playable in general. And then is there going to be a subscription and things like that required? So we'll see. So first, we'll go ahead and jump through and go to the roadmap. So I've tried to identify a couple of key areas here: the systems, crafting, class, and general. So what that means is I put a star next to each of those sections and where they relate. So if you quickly want to say, oh, I want to look at the crafting, you can just kind of look for the red stars and it'll help. So I'll use that. Everything in a green box is just related to art. So I know there are kind of like different classes of players. Some people want to be immersed in a world. Art is super important. Other people are just really concerned with gameplay and systems. And so they'll probably find more use with the stars. So we'll quickly go through these. I won't go on each one too long, especially the art. So we'll start there. There's just some really general things. They're talking about world art updates. They're going to have this website update, which is going to be probably related to the store and things like that. They have water swimming effects. So that means water swimming is confirmed. And then terrain loading and spawning improvements. I think this is a really big one. We've talked about this and I've seen a lot of people talk about it. It's got that Skyrim style pop in where maybe a rock is on the ground, you walk within 10 feet and then it apparates into your range. So I'm really glad they're looking at this. Animation enhancements, a really big one that people have talked about. So really glad to see this on there. I think some of these will be iterative processes that they'll have to continue to improve on, but I'm glad that they're prioritizing it. In May, they have the water beautification. That's a solid one. If you've seen any of the videos, the water's a little flat. And I know George in the Discord had mentioned he was, kind of battling between working on the Veil shader and the water shader. So I know that there's some time constraints that they have, but glad to see that as well. That's a good one. There is foliage animation. So a couple of people have talked about how they felt like the grass was a little static. Good to see that. Atmospheric fog and sky improvements. So, seems pretty general, but glad to see some of that stuff. I'm not super interested in those. And then if you look down at the bottom as well, you have that environment beautification update. So those all seem to be kind of tied together. Next, we'll go into systems. So I think that there looks to be 5 of these. So one big one and then a couple of general ones. They got player trading, in-game mail systems, improved chat systems, and then realm points, both in-game rewards and then banes and boons. So this is going to be really interesting. In general, I would say player trading and in-game mail systems are what you would expect. People almost don't even consider these systems. They consider them default. Like if you don't have this, like do you even have a game, especially an MMO? Also for the chat systems, you need group and all that kind of stuff. Nobody's giving you credit for implementing these systems, if I'm being honest. Like this is just an expectation from day one. So very glad that they are, we're still in a testing environment, because the general market, I think, would eat this up pretty hard. Now, the big one here is the realm points. This is awesome. I'm so happy to see this. I think that PvP incentives are a big reason. Some people call it a carrot on a stick, or some kind of dopamine hit that you want. But I think fundamentally what it does is it does 2 things, actually. One, when you're PvPing in a PvP area, you want to go fight people. You want to be engaged with the enemy. You don't want to let them go. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a nice person, like you have an incentive to want to kill people. And you're not a psychopath, right? Like you're not there's some people that will just kill people endlessly because, they got something going on. But, some of us it's a nice system to feel like, oh, I can do this. It's okay. It's part of the game. Like, we're supposed to be fighting. So I think it's a good incentive from that. But then the also is, a little bit more of the dopamine is you see that character progression. You see people building up their characters over time. It also tangentially kind of related to that. It makes people want to stay with specific characters, even if maybe it's not a super min-maxed character. If if it's going to take you a really long time to get your realm points back up there, like let's say you've spent a year or two, it might not be worth you re-rolling the character just so that you can, maybe switch to endurance out or something like that. All that time you've invested makes it worth it. So it's nice. It can also kind of help buffer between balance changes. Like let's say there's a new class that comes out and maybe that class is a little stronger. You've invested all that time already, and you can continue to kind of battle it out. So really, really excited about the realm point system. I was really hopeful for this. So I think it's a really good one. So next, let's go ahead and talk about crafting. There were, looks like 5 of these as well. So they have alchemy, cooking, and then also enchanting. We'd already kind of talked about these, so I won't go on those. You can look at one of my other videos. I also did talk about the quality for items, and so that's also included in the other video. Now, the 2 others that we have are trade skill specializations and equipment durability. So these are new and confirmations, really, that it looks like you're going to be able to specialize in specific trade skills. Now, we had talked about the crafters being potentially implemented, but they weren't in as of right now. So it looks like they're going with at least characters being able to specialize in a trade skill right now. So no crafter class or anything like that we see, and people should be able to go from there. Now, we only have a specific number of tiers available. So as things progress, maybe crafters become required, but we're not sure. And then equipment durability. So this one was in Dark Age. Basically, you need to repair your gear. Now, I don't think it's been confirmed what this means exactly. Does that mean you have to, is your gear destroyed? I think maybe, because it's a crafting specific and centric game. So this is a way to incentivize the economy, and it continuously requires people to be gathering materials and things like that. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see too how that works. Like, is it based on the number of hits you take? So is a melee character going to, that potentially is maybe taking more hits, going to receive more durability? Is it based on whether you use attacks or not? I'm not sure, but it will be interesting to see how they approach the issue. Next is class. We had talked about the Devout, I think, already. I'm not 100%. Actually, maybe we hadn't yet, and that one had been released over the last couple of months, but there's also the Scout. So it looks like Devout and Scout are confirmed, and they will be in. If you have any questions about those, you can at least look at some of the older designs and what those characters look like on the website. Would maybe wait to look at the website until it's updated. Some of the stuff on there is outdated, and you probably confuse yourself more. So maybe don't do that. But it's up to you. How interested you are in it. I'll leave it up to you. Give you some autonomy. And then generally is just they're adding a couple of new NPCs, and then that new uh, Arthurian zone, Forest Sauvage. So yeah, that's mostly it. They also at the bottom there are going to be including some balance patches and hot fixes. So just again, really general stuff that's related to most things. So that is it for their roadmap, and we'll go ahead and jump on. So I just again did a little quick recap of the systems and where we have. There was one other that MJ had mentioned in his stream about how big the zones are, and they're thinking about adding horses or travel routes or something like that. So I don't think that's set in stone, but I wanted to add it to the systems. And then also we already talked about it, but swimming, weather, trade, taxes, mail, realm points, those are all confirmed. This was also in the email that they sent out, so no big surprises here. Scout and devout, and then durability and quality. So yep, that's basically it. We'll go ahead and move on. So from that stream that Eben had earlier in the year, I think it was early March, he shared some of the art that they're doing. So go check that out if you're interested in all that kind of stuff. Just did a quick comparison here between some of the older models that they'd done and then some of the newer ones, how they talked about having 5 tiers and things like that. They also said that they're going to be adding ranged mobs. So that's going to be a big one for keeps, for bandit camps. So that range damage will be interesting. We'll have to see how you mitigate that, or whether or not you're kind of on the clock and you're taking damage and it becomes a DPS race. And then other just like general art in there as well. And those are basically the big things there. If you're interested and you want to really scrape the bottom of the barrel, you can go check it out. So another big quick slide here. The main theme of MJ's stream was you should go do testing. So I just wanted to walk through a couple of the points. I saw so many questions over the weekend, and I probably helped, I'm not kidding, probably 100 people I talked to at least about just different things that were going on, whether it be in game or in the Discord. So early access is available for the backers. There's communication that's gone out. So if you have an account, you can get in. The NDA is still being enforced there. The store is currently closed, so you cannot get access to it unless you have a friend that has an account, like an extra account or something like that. I don't think you're technically supposed to be sharing, but that's just how it goes. I just wanted to emphasize, I don't think people should feel FOMO about this. I know that Ashes of Creation used a similar tactic to this actually, to incentivize people to feel FOMO about early access, and then they released packs right before and they jacked the prices up. I wouldn't worry about that. I don't think that that's the situation here at all. It's very, very different if you have even a rudimentary analysis of it, but I wouldn't feel pressured to do that. The other thing is UCE has been saying that the store is going to be opening very soon. So once that store is open, it's going to be open. You can wait. And then one other point is, at some point, they're going to be releasing this onto Steam. So if you're really skeptical, just wait. Just wait to try out the game. Steam has a refund policy where you can try it for 2 hours. But not only would you have to wait there, you can wait until videos and content come out. Because once it's on Steam, I mean, there's not going to be an NDA for sure. Hopefully sooner, but for sure there. So just wanted to give people some options if you're kind of looking at it from a rudimentary way, or you're just kind of new and you're not sure. Just hold off, just wait. It's no killer there. You can check out videos like mine. I mean, I give you most of the information anyway. And I mean, UCE, they release videos on their channel showing you exactly what happens in the game. I mean, sure, it's not exactly the specific systems and you can't play it and feel it, but it's very similar. And then you can access the game through the launcher. I will include the steps for that. I'm going to include a slide, so maybe I'll run through that really quickly. So you use this URL. I'll include this in the description below, and then you log in at the top. Once you've logged in, you are going to, you hit the login button, then you enter your information, right? I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, but trying to help everybody here. Once you've entered your information, you can scroll down to the game client download and download from there. If you need access to the Discord, you can also access that through the visit the forums. So in the forums, there's a thread where you can post your Discord information and get that linked up. If you need any help with that, the blue names in Discord will help you out. So then we'll go back to the other slide, and then quickly, just in general, the Discord announcements and the Discord events have a bunch of the different things going on. So every Friday, it seems that Travis is sharing that information. Whenever there's a new video, they're sharing it. Whenever there's some kind of comment coming out, they're trying to communicate that to the best of their ability. Also, in the Discord that we talked about, there's some NDA channels that are available to people with access to them. So I would say check that out. And, you can talk to people, you can ask questions, all that kind of stuff. So, a lot of us just chat there. I mean, I don't do that as much. I mean, I do a little bit in the IT channel, not as much the other ones. But I keep it usually games. But some people are, I love reading the other comments. It's funny. And then we'll move on. So, they're iterating as we talked about. So that's kind of something that you should expect from the early access. They did mention wipes. So at some point, this is not a final build. So if you're really about the persistence of everything and you don't want to invest any time into it, I think right now is probably not the time for you. You could get in, you could learn some of the systems, but things are probably going to change if I'm being totally honest. I guarantee you, I know things are going to change, but I don't know to what magnitude they will change. So, just something to think about. And then feedback. That's the big thing that they're asking for is if you want to test for a little while, that would probably be very helpful to them. And if you did that, you can create a forum thread. Every week they have a thread that they create for that week's testing. If you leave your feedback there, then you can share, maybe your feedback ends up altering the game in some way. And then you can see that week to week and how things are progressing. So yeah, just an option. And then one last thing I wanted to add here is API access. So Eog has a great compilation thread that he created, and he shared some of the specific details that Carl and UCE in general shared with us in the IT channel. So that is available. They did say that this is free to share. So I specifically asked about the NDA and all that stuff. So should be good to go there. If you're a little bit more technical and you understand how to access that stuff. And then also related to this, I'm going to share in the description a calculator that I created. So, I don't think most people right now will be interested in this, but if some of you are interested in calculating your stats or anything like that, I automated it all through a spreadsheet. So yeah, you can take a look. All right. So we'll move on. Coming up content wise, right now with the NDA, it's a little bit hard. I can't really create some of the stuff I would like to. I'd really like to create a new player video, maybe a point of interest analysis, and we could talk about the different types and how they interact with professions. I'd like to do a profession breakdown, maybe a class breakdown by realm, and talk about the specific abilities, an RP system analysis. So whenever that comes out in the next couple of months, I'd really love to talk about RPs and how they're gained and, some of the different criteria around that. So yeah, you can look forward to some of that, just depending on how the game releases and how systems are updated as we go on. So, yep, a little bit of a shorter one, I think, but appreciate your time, everybody. Have a good one. Thanks for watching. Bye.